Hello, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Director's Cut, a podcast by the Directors Guild of America, featuring today's top directors sharing behind-the-scenes stories of their latest films and insights into the craft of directing. Please take a second to subscribe to our show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the DGA website at dga.org and hover over the Craft tab to watch or listen to hours of content, such as past episodes of The Director's Cut, video of the Guild's 75th anniversary celebration, and long-form interviews from our visual history program. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Jay Chandrasekhar's new comedy, Super Troopers 2. The long-anticipated follow-up to the 2001 cult comedy Super Troopers continues the story of the wacky Vermont Highway Patrol officers who were fired for their shenanigans in the first film. When an international border dispute arises between the US and Canada, the officers get a shot at redemption as they employ unconventional methods to set up a new highway patrol station in the disputed area, while dealing with a smarmy mayor, mischievous Mounties, a smuggling ring, and a 1,300-pound bear. In addition to Super Troopers and Super Troopers 2, Mr. Chandrasekhar's credits include the feature films Puddle Cruiser, Club Dread, The Dukes of Hazzard, Beer Fest, and The Babymakers, the movies for television Held Up and Schooled, the pilots for the series The Rebels and Really, and episodes of the series Undeclared, Arrested Development, Chuck, Psych, Community, Royal Pains, The Goldbergs, and New Girl. After a recent screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Mr. Chandrasekhar spoke with director John Hamburg about filming Super Troopers 2. During their discussion, Mr. Chandrasekhar talks about how the sequel came to fruition 17 years after the original film, his maturation as a filmmaker between shooting the first and second films, and his belief that comedy works better faster.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Hey Jay, good to be with you.
Hey John, good to see you.
Old friend.
Yeah. We were together back in New York in the New York independent heyday.
That's right. Does that exist anymore? I don't.
It's still there.
It's there. New York exists.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Yeah,
I don't
New
know
York's
about
still there.
the world we started in. I treated this professionally. I have some questions, anyway. So, well, congrats on a hilarious film.
Thank you.
So funny.
Thanks.
And it did great. So congrats on that
thank
too.
you.
It's awesome. Super Troopers came out in 2002. Many, you've done a bunch of Broken Lizard movies and many other things. And so why a sequel, roughly 16 years later? Unconventional, but it worked, obviously. But how did it come about?
The studio wanted us to make Super Troopers 2 right after the first one, but we always aspired to sort of do what Monty Python did and make different movies with different characters. And so we decided to make a film after that called Club Dread, which is a horror film. Yeah, but nobody went in the theater. Which whatever. It became a very loved movie.
Yeah.
But it was probably like a big jump for the audience that we started. They were like, oh, wait, there's, a head getting cut off and blood and all that stuff. We wanted to make a lot of different movies in between. And then we always sort of thought, oh, we'll go back and make another Super Troopers, but it was sort of tied up in the audit, and it was kind of, it took quite a few years. And eventually we settled it, and Fox said, okay, you can make the second one, but you have to raise all the money.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about this outside. The way this movie was partially financed is pretty unique. I don't know if you guys know this. It was crowdfunded, and I think was like the number 1 or 2 most crowdfunded movie so far. So can you speak to that? Because it's so unique, and maybe is something that movies like this will call upon moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, crowdfunding, we watched and saw what Veronica Mars had done. They raised $5.8 million through Kickstarter. And we thought, well, Fox basically said, we think it'll make money. We just don't know if it'll make enough money. It's sort of all the money at the big studios is being plowed into like capes and tights and, those kind of movies, right? So, so they were like, not sure. And so then we went to sort of the independent investor class, and they thought, yeah, it's been a while, we're not sure, right? And so then we basically decided our only hope was to sort of jumpstart the process through crowdfunding. And the risk was, if people didn't crowdfund it, then, Fox and the investors were going to look at that and say, well, nobody wants to see the movie.
Right. You're really putting yourself out there when you put it up for crowdfunding.
And so we hired the guy who did the Veronica Mars campaign, this guy Ivan Asquith, and he wasn't a fan of ours. He was just a guy who really knew computers, and he said, let me do some research. And he said, your fans are located in this suburb of Albuquerque, and this town, and this town, and this town. And he goes, on these sites, we can, and he goes, I believe we'll have a successful campaign. He was like this sort of Cambridge Analytica kind of guy, just like a deep space, deep space. So, and we shot about 20 videos that we were going to roll out every few days, during the campaign. We got into shape so that, the audience, because it was really the beginning of a promotional campaign, really, because the audience from the first movie was going to have to look at these videos and go, they still got it, right?
Right.
Or
That's
they
a great
don't.
point. Yeah.
Or they look too fat.
Right.
So we grew mustaches and we worked out, and we shot these videos, and they had the similar tone as the first movie, except we were asking for money. And so we pressed go on the campaign, and within 24 hours we had $2 million.
That's amazing.
And at the end it was 5.7 or something like that. I mean, it was just we were the number 2 to Veronica Mars.
That's amazing. But you were saying the movie Super Troopers grossed like 20 in the theaters, but made like 80 million on home video.
That's right.
Which is just unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So you knew that the fan base was out there.
Well, we hoped.
You hoped.
We knew they were out there, but we didn't know. I mean, it's one thing to say, "Hey, come see my movie for $20." It's another to say, for $400 you can get the set visit package.
Right. Now, wasn't it for $35,000? One of you would be a sperm donor to.
No, $35,000 bought you one of the Highway Patrol cars, and someone bought that within an hour.
Okay.
For $25 million, one of us would father a child. Nobody bought that. We knocked 1,000 off it. Still nobody bought it.
Nobody went for it. And so some people who spent thousands and thousands of dollars became producers on the movie.
Yeah, they got their name in the. That's why the credits are so damn long.
Right. I figured that. Okay. And did any of them kind of show up on set and sort of give you notes or, do it this way or that?
One of them got to be director for a day, which meant he got to hang out with me, but he kind of took it a little too seriously. And he's like, I have some pitches for your jokes.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, buddy.
Right.
All right, buddy.
Enough. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little about the writing process, because I think the credit is written by Broken Lizard.
Yeah.
And obviously, when we make these comedies, we want them to seem effortless and like there is no script, and but everybody who's a comedy writer director knows you do a zillion drafts. So can you speak a little bit about how the origin, from a writing standpoint?
I mean, the way we operate now is we sit in a room for about 3 weeks, and we break an outline, and it's like a 3-act structure, and it's it's probably got about 60 scenes. And then once we're, we kind of work that outline until it's in a real good spot, and then we cut it up into fifths, and each person takes 12 points of the outline, and we generate a first draft within 3 weeks. I mean, 3 weeks to do the outline, and then 3 more weeks to write it, and now we have a terrible first draft, where I've named the villain one thing, and Kevin's named the villain something else, and so it's like impossible to read, but you say, well, I like the tone of that scene, and I like the tone of this scene, and this joke is good, this joke, not so much. And then we basically give each other notes and revise our section. And then we do that again a third time, and then we hand it off to one person who's the point man, and then he takes it for the remaining 34 drafts. And
really?
Eventually we shoot draft 35, 37 on this one.
37. Amazing. Yeah. And does it vary who the point person is?
Yeah, it just depends on,
who's
people
free
are
or who has
very,
a fee for
people are point people on different movies.
Yeah.
And I was point person for the first 14, and then I had to do something, so Kevin took over and did the rest, and then I came back in the end.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about casting. So obviously you have the great benefit of having the leads and having people return like Brian Cox, who the production notes, it's pretty interesting. Brian Cox's story where he's like, he kind of showed up, in 2001 and shot the movie and was like, I don't even know what this is, but it's basically the thing he's most recognized for in a very illustrious career.
He is. I mean, he's done so many great dramas. He always wanted to be Jerry Lewis. He always thought his career would make him like the next Jerry Lewis. And so when he became this, like, he played a serial killer, the original Hannibal Lecter.
That's right.
And he's played, pedophiles. He's played all sorts of stuff. But Rushmore gave him a chance to be funny.
Yeah.
And then we obviously did too. And he's a very funny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great in the movie. And so obviously you have new people. How did it come about, with Rob Lowe and Emmanuel Shrieky?
Well, Rob, I directed his television show, The Grinder, which was...
As did I.
Oh, you did? Yeah, of course.
It was fun.
With Fred Savage. And that was a phenomenally funny show.
Fred Savage.
Yeah, Fred Savage. A really, really funny show. And, I did 4 of those, and I did the finale. And so the show didn't get picked up. And reminded me of Arrested Development a little bit. It was like, to me, it was that good. And it was like, couldn't get people to watch it, like Club Dread. But ultimately, at the end of the shoot, I said to Rob, is there any world where you would consider playing a part in Super Troopers 2? He said, anything. I don't care what it is, I'm in. And Fred was sitting right there. He goes, what about me? Okay. And so,
there you go.
Made that work.
And I don't want to jump into production too quickly, but with the new people, is it, because you guys have such a specific tone, is it tricky to kind of get new actors on board with the tone you're going for? Or do you think they just kind of get it?
Well, Rob and Fred are like really, they understand that comedy works at high speed.
Yeah.
And so, they're not, you work with a dramatic actor and they will try to pause twice in a sentence and you're like, I'm just going to cut away. Right. Like you have to keep the pace up because there's a rhythm that this works at and it's fast.
Very fast.
And notice people chiming in, these little things, they're all syncopated, they're all timed, they're exact.
Yeah.
And so these guys know that. So it was, all the people in this movie knew that.
They get that. What the rhythms of comedy and this kind of comedy.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with dramatic actors before, and you don't really get it until take 8 or 9, where you're like faster, faster, faster.
Yeah, exactly. And during prep, do you have any time to rehearse, or are you the Broken Lizard guys rehearsing? Are you doing read-throughs?
Yeah,
what does prep look like for you?
We rehearse all the scenes internally, and we play all the parts.
Okay.
And then we kind of get a sense of how we think it should be read. But then you get like Sasso, who plays like one of the Mounties.
Hilarious.
There's no approximating that.
Yeah.
Those guys sort of just did what they did.
Right.
And he came in and said, I'm going to do, this incredible accent. I'm like, I said, sometimes I'd go in and say, I don't understand what the meaning of the sentence is.
Right.
So can you get this one word out?
Right.
You go, yeah, okay, no problem.
I'll get that one word, but the rest is
the
mine.
rest is, hard to tell.
And what about the crew? Was it new people or people you'd work with before?
The crew, we kept a lot of the crew that we've worked with in the past, and I added a couple of different people from the TV world that, I've directed now about 110 episodes of television.
Yeah.
And so I've met a couple of really amazing people in that world that I pulled onto this movie.
Yeah. And what are you looking for when in terms of crew? Like obviously, like the actors, a dramatic actor might, come in differently than someone who knows the rhythms of comedy perfectly.
I mean,
is it the same kind of casting?
And I'm sure you're probably similar, but I have always sort of admired the films of John Landis.
Yeah.
And I always feel like if you turn the sound off on his movies, it's not necessarily obvious that they're comedies.
Yep.
Because they're lit. There's a little bit of darkness. There's a little bit of, there's a little bit of edge to him. And he was trying to fit in the 70s and the 80s, right? So
yeah.
So I like that kind of look, and we try to go for that kind of look. But I mean, in terms of the crew, you're looking for somebody who really is going to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And because we're going to deal with what trying to generate the laughs through the very, very specifically written jokes and timing, but we need the sets to look like a normal, real movie.
That's right. Yeah.
And we need the lighting to look like a real movie.
Yep. And do you, in prep, do you shot list, or are you, so many scenes have so many people that I was wondering, are you just basically trying to cover it?
No,
and
it's
bring
all
it into the cutting room, or how do you work?
I was an editor on my first film. I couldn't afford to hire a guy to sit there and cut the movie.
Right.
And so I got a job at an editing house as a manager, so I could have free editing time.
Okay.
And then whenever I'd run into something I didn't know how to do, I would call in one of the editors who worked for the company, and they would teach me how to do that one thing. And so I became an editor. And so ultimately, I go through the script, and I'm like, I literally, write the shots out based on how it will cut. And then I add some other shots on top of that. It's all very specifically shot listed.
Specifically shot listed. Yeah, that's great. Do you storyboard or?
Yeah, I storyboard the big action scenes, like the opening and the grizzly bear.
Right.
Because you just when people get on set, they're like, oh, we want to give you as much as we can.
Yeah.
But really, when you're working with a 1,700-pound bear, you're like, I literally need this one shot.
Yep.
And I need about 8 seconds of it.
Yep.
So can we get this to happen? And they're like, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, right.
And they just, okay, this is all we're going to do? Yeah. If we do all this, it'll cut
together. Yeah. So on set, what does a day look like for you? Are you kind of rehearsing and then shooting, or is there a lot of improv? Just talk us through what some of these producers who paid money to crowdfund got to see when they showed up on set.
We shot the first film in 28 days.
Okay.
And we shot this film in 28 days.
Amazing.
And so
that's amazing. The
difference is, the first film, I didn't really know what I was doing it's not that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that I knew what I was doing.
Okay.
I was like, I think this is the right way to go. And I shot a lot of things that I didn't really use, that were really useless when you put the cut together.
Yeah.
In this movie, I shot exactly what I needed. Yeah. And it's 10 times more complicated, this film, but it was just a matter of being very these are the only shots I need for this scene, and we're shooting them.
Right.
So in terms of improv, because we wrote 37 drafts, we believed in the joke we had.
Yeah.
So we shot that joke well.
Yep.
And then the actors understood that, okay, you get 2 or 3 takes, go do whatever the hell you want to now.
Right.
And beat it by all means.
Sure.
And they would write their own bits the first movie we probably put in about 8 lines of improv, which is not much.
Not a lot. Yeah.
And this one is probably more like 50.
50. But still, not a lot.
Not a lot. Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah.
We don't, we're not, I've watched you shoot, and there's a little more, it feels like there's a little more improv to it, but it must depend on the scene, right?
It depends on the scene, yeah. But some scenes, there's a lot of improv.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that wasn't always, I think in my first couple movies, there was very little, and then I started to incorporate it more.
Yeah, it's just, it's a hard horse to ride when you get in the edit room. You're like, right? So you really have to ride it right there while it's happening and say, okay, I love that, but in order to do that, I have to do that.
That's right. Yeah, no, it has. It kind of, the dominoes fall for sure. So that actually, you hit upon one of my questions, which is, it's kind of the rare situation where you directed Super Troopers, which was your second movie. Puddle Cruiser was your first, which is another hilarious movie, if you haven't seen it. You've seen it. There you go. But you're now revisiting the same characters, but all these years, like a decade and a half later, with so much, as you said, all these TV credits and having directed many movies and big studio movies. So you kind of touched on this, but maybe we can speak a little more of just Jay Chandrasekhar, approaching this 15 or 16 years later as a director. How did you feel differently? Did you feel more confident, or did you feel?
The first film I made, Puddle Cruiser, I was so internally stressed that I lost 20 pounds during the shoot.
Okay.
And with Super Troopers, I lost 15 pounds. It didn't matter what I ate or drank. I drank everything and ate everything.
Okay.
It just lost
stress. Yeah.
weight. When I made Dukes of Hazzard, I'd gained 20 pounds.
Okay.
And I think it was with the moment when I realized, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And this one, I was very, very sure of what, we'd already made this movie.
Yeah.
It was just another one.
Yeah.
And I felt confident about the story. I felt confident about the script. So the shots, I'm like, I just got to collect them.
Yep.
It was the time on 28 Day Shoot is tight.
Very tight.
It's just, you have to sort of, everything has to go well.
And there's action, and it's not just people in a room. There's
That's right.
There's big set pieces and stuff like that. So, let's talk about post a little bit. So, had you worked with? Is this a new editor for you, or someone you'd worked with before?
This is one of the guys I took from television. I worked with him on Community and I believe Happy Endings as well. Mm-hmm. And it was, I've worked with so many editors, and I'm sure you have too, but it's like, when you watch a first cut of a television show and you look at what this guy did, you're like, I feel like I might have cut it. It's like he cuts me like I cut me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you say, wow, that guy, and he was, he'd done a bunch of TV, never done a movie.
Okay.
And he kind of had these brass balls, and he called me up and he goes, I hear you're making Super Troopers. I'd like to be the editor. And I'm like, dude, you've never edited a movie before.
Right.
And he goes, I know, but I'm putting my name in the hat. And I'm like, all right, well, you're not getting it.
Okay.
And then, the editors that I would have normally gone to were all working out of California. We had a New York tax post credit.
Okay. Yeah.
And I called this guy up. I'm like, can you move to New York?
Right.
And he goes, hell yeah.
Nice.
And he went.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I'll use him forever.
He did a great job.
Oh, I love him. Yeah.
And what about the test screening process? Obviously, in our kind of movies, test screening, audience, laughs, all of that is so important. What was that process like on this kind of movie?
There was some security on this sort of film because there was some expectation. You wouldn't want an early cut of this movie to get out, or even the word that it wasn't as good as the first, or whatever it was, right?
Right, yeah.
So we had to show these very tight, small group of people. We showed 50, then we showed 100, but we knew everybody in the room.
Okay.
And then we showed 500 down at the Orange Block in Orange County.
Yep.
And, it was one of those magical test screenings.
It was great.
Those rare magical test screenings.
That's what we live for, basically.
It was the highest testing movie we've ever done.
Okay.
And luckily, the entire Fox brass was in the room.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And it's been, great since then.
That's great.
Yeah.
I noticed Eagles of Death Metal did the score. How did that collaboration come about?
My friends in the group are fans of the Eagles death metal, and they said that they really thought I would like them because I'm a big fan of 70s rock and roll. And so I went to see them, and there were all these women wearing fake mustaches, and I was like, that's interesting.
Okay.
And then I watched them, and I'm not into death metal, but these guys are the Eagles.
That's not really. They're not really death metal.
It's a terrible name for a band. The Eagles.
It brands them as such.
They're more. They're just like a funk rock.
Okay. Yeah.
And I said, these guys are like the rock and roll version of us.
Okay.
And I said, these guys have to have to do our film.
Nice.
And 3 years later they did.
And how had they ever scored a film?
They'd never scored a movie before,
anything?
but I did a similar thing with Dukes of Hazzard. I had Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, and Willie Nelson also did some guitar work on it. And it's really, you just like, I need a 12-second lick here. It's got to be big and then come off hard. And once they start to understand that it's a rhythm thing, and they're like, they put up their song against our scene, and what they were so intrigued by, they said, the song lines up exactly with your scene. They're like, there's some weird rhythmic kind of crossover happening.
Yeah.
And when you give them the note, I need it to be 28 seconds.
Yep.
It's got to have a little build, and then and they just they're able to do it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, the score's great. It perfectly, it goes perfectly with the tone. So
thanks.
Well, why don't we take a few questions
Okay,
from the crowd? Any questions, guys? In back.
Beer Fest too. That we're kind of talking to we have movies sort of all over town. We have one at Paramount and two at Universal, and that movie is at Warner Brothers. So we'll see. We're trying to get Warner Brothers to either agree to make it or to let us have it. So we'll see. I mean, we have a plot, and we'd like to make it. It'll be Potfest, but
Appropriate. Times have changed.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How hard is it to direct and act in the same scene? I always say that directing and acting ruins two perfectly good jobs. It's like, it's incredibly fun to just act. I've acted for him once in I Love You, Man.
Yep, he was kind enough to show up for a couple days.
Yeah.
And
it's great because nobody asks you anything. You just got to say your lines and say them on time, and it's fantastic. But directing and acting, I'm like most directors are have a control freak gene in them, and so when you watch it, you're like, oh, that line's coming in like 1/3 of a second too late, and that one's 2/3 of a second too fast, whatever. And when you're acting, you don't get to watch yourself and do that. So, and you can't really just do a take and then go stare at yourself, and it's just awkward, right? You don't want to do that.
So you're not doing watching playback on an average.
I'll watch one take and say the framing needs to be a little wider or whatever it is. There's a great deal of self-loathing involved, so it's not fun to watch it. So really, what Brian Cox told me that the best way to do this job is to bracket your performance. So you basically read the line subtly, a little bigger, right in the middle where you think it should be, over the top a little, and then way over the top. And he goes, you'll use one of them. One of them will be right.
Great advice.
It really
excellent.
is. Yeah.
Any other questions? The movie obviously had incredible opening weekend and has done great.
Yeah, we were the #1 movie in America on Friday night.
That's so cool. It's just great. So Super Troopers 3, are we?
We're talking to Fox Searchlight. My notes are right here. I'm going to go sit in a bar and start to figure it out.
Excellent.
And we'll see. I mean, it's there's another film I'm going to make. It's called American Indian.
Okay.
It's kind of like it's a little bit like like Meet the Parents, but it's it's got a very hard political, racial bent to it.
Okay.
It's like a little All in the Family, a little R-rated, R-rated All in the Family.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Are you going to be in it?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. And not with the guys. I mean, maybe
it'll be just me. I'm in the
you.
process of starting to set it up now.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. What you guys have here is so that tone. I was trying to think of what it's like. Stoner Marx Brothers or something. I don't know what it is. It's very very sweet actually. They all kind of, except for Farva, they all kind of love each other, and they put up with him and kind of love him too.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's a very unique tone that you capture.
Thank you.
And it obviously connects with audiences, so
yeah.
it's awesome. All right, cool. Well, if there's no more questions, I think our time has come to an end.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. If you'd like to hear more, you can find past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts. In the coming weeks, we'll hear from directors Morgan Neville, Amy Scott, and Lauren Greenfield, so be sure to click subscribe so you won't miss an episode. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.